Okay guys, hopefully you can see me. Hi, thanks for joining me. You'll have to tell me when there's really bad lag between sort of like, well, basically my mouth moving and me talking. So I've had some real problems with it this evening, which I didn't seem to have this morning. So I don't know what's changed because apart from shutting the laptop lid, I didn't do anything. So thanks for joining. I'm just going to see what your responses are just to see whether the lag's really bad. And we'll take it from there. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be okay though. So am I all good, guys? Does it all seem to match up? My mouth isn't moving ahead of what I'm saying. Awesome. Okay. It's just this is really confusing because I don't use a webcam at the best of times, so talking to myself feels a bit weird. And of course, obviously, the laptop over there says showing different things, so this is all very confusing. Right, I'm just going to close the door and we'll get going. Cool. Well, I'm really glad that everybody's managed to tune in this evening. I'm not sure how long this stream's going to go on for, but we'll just see how it goes. As I say, I've never actually done one of these before, so I'm a bit nervous, but I do have something just to. I see I'm looking over to my left to see what's in the webcam, but obviously it's ages. I think there's like half a minute's delay or something. So anyway, so I have some sustenance to help me through. But yeah, I'm not usually this nervous doing stuff. But yeah, I guess when you know, obviously I really care about my artwork, and you know, sort of when you all sort of demonstrate it in front of other people, it gets you know, kind of scary in a way. But you're a good bunch. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat, and yeah, hopefully I'll be able to respond to some questions. Unfortunately, there's no music with this stream because earlier on I found that with a mixture of all the boxes that I have to capture video, which then goes into, or you know, like you've got a SCART to HDMI and then that into the Elgato, and it was causing some problems with me actually being able to see the Amiga screen. So I think going forwards I might have to look at, you know, do I use the real hardware to do this? It would be a shame if I can't, because that's part of the joy of obviously doing retro computing, I guess. So, but we'll see how it goes. Unfortunately, not only are my Amigas decidedly retro, my Macs that I own are also decidedly retro. This stream is coming through on a 7-year-old MacBook Air, and my Mac Mini, which is sat underneath my screen here, that's also 7 years old. So basically I'm just a collector of ancient kit by the looks of it. So I hope this works. So what I have planned today is just to go through a little bit about briefly how I got into sort of Deluxe Paint and pixel art, and just show you some cool bits and pieces, and yeah, and then crack on with some live demonstrations. I'm just going to have a little look at the wow, this is really weird because usually I'm participating in these chats, and now I'm not. So I feel a bit out of the loop, bizarrely. This is really weird being on this side. So, all the familiar faces. Oh, it's so good to have you here, guys. I really am delighted to share this with you. So, okay. Oh, that's not too bad. It's only 8:05 as well. So, last minute techie difficulties don't seem to have held back the party. So I'm going to stay on webcam just to start with because there's a few bits I want to show you. So to start with, as most of you know, I am a real Commodore Amiga geek. So this is my Amiga 1200. It's not the one that I had back in the day. My Amiga 1200 that I had in the 90s sadly bit the dust in I think it was about 2000 when it just would no longer switch on, and unlike many of us diehard Amigans who hung on till the bitter end, you know, it ended up in a tower at the end of it, and it wasn't very nice looking back on it. So I now have myself an Amiga 1200. It's only very moderately expanded. It's got a ACA 1221 EC in there. with the extra memory, but otherwise, apart from the compact flash hard disk, it's an entire stand. So I love keeping these classic Amigas sort of pretty much how they came from Commodore. So I have the Amiga 1200 there, and I haven't actually got it in because I had some problems with the stream. I could go and grab it. Let's do this properly. Be right back. Okay, so let's just have a little catch up. Oh, cool, the gaming museum's in here. We've got Sanzio, we've got Raw, we've got Pishbot, we've got, oh, who else we've got in here? We've got Arieri, we've got, oh man, we've got so many of you guys in here. Obviously, you've got the Retro. I'm not sure if that's Ravi or down there, but hi guys, hi Phil. So good to, Retro Tech Ralph, hi, how are you doing? Blackpool was fun, wasn't it? So, yeah, we've got some, and oh, Joss Statey, Vant Amiga. I really hope I haven't missed anybody. So I will try and keep a hang on this. So cool. Oh, the gaming museum, awesome. So right, hopefully there is still no lag. I have no idea where I'm at in the video now, so anyway, I'm just going to carry on. So this was my first computer, Commodore 64 C64C. Sadly, it doesn't seem like this one's working at the moment, but I might give it another go later on this week. But this was my first computer, and really, I don't want to go into it too much because actually this is going to be the topic of another video probably. I don't know that I'll do it as a stream, just going to see how today goes. But this was my first computer, and primarily I played games on it, really. It's also what I learned how to program BASIC on, but I'm utterly baffled how I ended up with this, you know, a computer or any games console, full stop, because I have no recollection of ever asking my parents for a computer, and, you know, not wishing to embellish it very much, but, you know, I didn't grow up in a very well-off household, essentially. So, you know, sort of parents spending £100 on a Commodore 64 was, like, unheard of. But I got it, and the rest of this is history. So that's when I went on to the Amiga 600, and that's the computer that we'll be using this evening. It's the Amiga that I do most of my pixel art on. The Amiga 1200 has a lot of benefits. It works a lot quicker. It's got a greater palette depth and so forth. But to be honest with you, there's when it comes to, you know, wanting expanded palettes, I might as well just crack out the Mac and use the graphics tablet for that kind of stuff, and actually just, you know, create some higher resolution artwork, because my fascination with pixel art and that aesthetic is the limited color range, you know, the limited resolution. You know, what can you squeeze out of, you know, 320 by 256 pixels, or whatever you're using, or 32 colors or 16 colors. That's the kind of thing that I enjoy, and also it's just reflections on sort of childhood and that. So, God, these are heavy. Amiga 500. So yeah, I actually got an Amiga 500 Plus in I think it was around about July 1995. That was 2 years after my A600, which I bought in '93, which is the very one that you'll be seeing this evening. But yeah, Amiga 500. Like to crack this out every now and then. This is just about as vanilla as you can get, on purpose. Again, it's 512K upgrade in here, Kickstart 1.3. Great nostalgic machine for me. I just like to crack this out every now and then. Plug in the tank mouse, pop in the Deluxe Paint free floppy disk, and paint away. Of course, this isn't actually an Amiga 500 Plus. Unfortunately, that 500 Plus died from a Varta battery, like so many did. I had no idea at the time, when it was dug out of my parents' loft in 2006, that was the issue. I'm pretty technically savvy, but I don't actually recall ever seeing any battery corrosion or even a battery on the motherboard. It's so long ago now. It's 13 years ago now. I don't know, it would have been dumped, so rather sad. But those are the retro systems that I have, and so my history of pixel art sort of started very poorly on the Commodore 64. It came with a cartridge that had, I think the application was called Image Maker, but I didn't have a mouse, no mouse. And so all the artwork was pretty much drawn using a joystick, which was absolutely terrible. I didn't get very far with that. So it was only actually when I got the Amiga, sorry, I'm just trying to stop the 500 from falling on my feet. It was only when I got the 500 that, 600, that I got Deluxe Paint, and it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And spent hours in it doing animations and stuff. So, and then when I left the Amiga scene, pretty much in about 2000 or so, I've kind of not really touched much in the way of pixel art up until last year, probably for what would have been 18 years then. So it's been really good to get back to it. So I'm just going to show you a few little curios before you crack on. So to start with, if you're going to use an older computer like the Amiga, a good mouse is a good thing to have. This is one that I had back in the day. Unfortunately, this isn't the one that I had back in the day, the specific one, but this was the model that I had now for Data Mega Mouse. Brilliant mice. Tend to break after a while though, so I'm expecting mine to break again, but it served as a better replacement to this bad boy, so the good old tank mouse. This one's a nice nicotine stained yellow colour, but these are okay actually. They're not too bad. They have a, remember that sound? Oh, that's classic, isn't it? So but if you clean up the rollers inside with a bit of IPA or something like that. Is it IPA? I feel like I'm talking about beer now. But yeah, they're not too bad. I've certainly used worse mice. So a decent mouse will help you, but if a tank mouse or something similar is all you've got, don't let that hold you back. Deluxe Paint. Here's a little curio. This here is the very first version of Deluxe Paint 1. It wasn't even called Deluxe Paint 1, just D-Paint 1, D-Paint, Deluxe Paint. It's really cute. At the bottom there you can say Amiga 256 kilobytes. So yeah, it came on one disc, and that's barely full as it is. And it came with this manual. And those of you familiar with Deluxe Paint would have remembered the manuals were really big, but this is like a pamphlet. It's tiny, but how cute. It's literally 31 pages. 31 pages. And on the back it's got the little toolbox illustrated there, but there are virtually no illustrations in this manual, but it just goes to show what an accessible application that it was. Yeah, so this is where Deluxe Paint started in 1985. This was arguably Amiga's killer app. Back then, whereas sort of with the Macintosh you had things like Alder's PageMaker, this is Amiga's killer app. Strangely, can't use it in any other resolution than low resolution though, and it only runs in 320 by 200 to match NTSC. So even though this is the PAL version, so quite limited these days, but really interesting to see, and the disc still works fine. I've got a backup of it as well. The version that I've spent most of my time with over my life is this, Deluxe Paint 3. This is the exact box and package that I got in 1993 with the Amiga 600 that we're going to be using today. Wow, what an absolute legendary package. Now this manual, this isn't original. I had to re-procure this. I must have lost my original one in house moves, or maybe it got thrown away, or perhaps it was sold accidentally with something else. It's when you open those boxes, like with Amiga games or software, it's quite often you'll find that you've put another manual in there, or it's another piece of software that you don't even know, and you think, where's that come from? So I repurchased this. So this copy of the manual is actually in quite good condition, but what a manual, great. Wish software came with these days. And it came with 3 discs, which we've got in here. So you can see that these are the ones that came with my Amiga 600. So there's your program disc. You've got your art disc, which has got lots of good examples, and your animation disc as well. So 3 discs of absolute goodies and joy. So fantastic package. By this point, this was the last version that Daniel Silver worked on, and yeah, really good paint package, and it's easily overlooked actually. I think these days it's easy to just look back on your Amiga as a superb gaming machine, which undoubtedly it was, but part of the Amiga's attraction for myself was actually its versatility as a computer. You know, that this was something that you could do word processing on, or databases, or spreadsheets, or, you know, and of course artwork and so forth, for if you were really adventurous with your 68,000 Amiga desktop publishing, which would have been a bit slow, but well, you know, it worked. It was a massive step up on things like a Spectrum or a C64, so why not? Next version. Discs are somewhere else at the moment, and I can't find the box, but it is around somewhere. Deluxe Paint 4. This is the version that I spend most of my time with. It's this. I don't know why. I think it's because it runs pretty well on my Amiga 600. Comes with lots of extra helpful bits to do with animation, such as the light table, which allows you to kind of do onion skinning and so forth. It's probably only got one drawback. The palette mixer in this is a bit slow, and I don't like it very much, mostly because it runs in ham mode, so you actually get fringing at the edge of the colour swatches, but hey, don't want to dwell on this too much, but Deluxe Paint 4 probably is the version I recommend. If you can pick up Deluxe Paint 4 AGA, works perfect on ECS and OCS Amigas, so that's your Amiga 500s and 600s. Just because it says AGA doesn't mean it won't run, and we'll be using Deluxe Paint 4 AGA this evening. I'm going to check this chat soon, guys, because I realise I'm doing a bit of a show and tell here, and I'm thinking of this as one of my videos. How are we doing there? Wow, I've got some really good chat going on, guys. Yeah, hey Doug, how you doing? $1. Oh, wow, awesome. Oh, I wonder... Oh yes, Sandy and say he's going to get the C64 working. Awesome. It's good to hear that Tim's going to have a look at that, because he's legendary with this stuff. I'm like I say, I'm technically savvy, but if it involves anything beyond pushing stuff back in again, I'm useless. So, Deluxe Paint 5, the last version, sadly. This came out in 1995, and as you can see, beautiful big box, yeah, really sad that this was the last version, but to be honest with you, the fact that we got this at all after Commodore's bankruptcy was incredible. Really good bit of software. Slightly hard to come by in this version, sadly, because I just guess most people didn't buy it. You know, like a lot of people left the Amiga scene in 94, 95, perhaps even before then. But it's quite resource hungry, so it will run on an A600, but it does really need about 4 meg of RAM really to get it going. It only runs on Workbench 2.04 or later, so your 1.3 Amigas are out the window, sadly, and it really does need a hard disk, but it's a great bit of software. It's got some really good animation enhancements. If you can pick this up, I do recommend it. It was later released in, I think, 96 or 97 by Guildhall Leisure on CD under the Acid Software brand, which they use for re-releases of things like Blitz Basic and Super Skid Marks and stuff like that. But those editions are only on CD, and I'm not sure that they came with a printed manual, so they may have done. It may have been like a black and white spiral photocopy, spiral bound photocopy, a bit like... That's what I got with my copy of Blitz Basic from Guildhall anyway. And then here's something that is almost like a holy grail to me. Back in the day, towards the late part of the 90s, I bought Brilliance, which was regarded by many to be a Deluxe Paint beta, and yeah, it's pretty good. Although I do always return to D-Paint just because it feels like home. But yeah, I was super excited that I managed to pick up Deluxe. Oh dear, I'm making so many mistakes tonight, but I'm probably gabbling because I'm nervous. But Brilliance 2.0, this is an amazing package. You know, and oh, look at that legendary Jim Sachs artwork on the front there. It's a brilliant package, one that I hope to explore on my channel more, because it does run super quick, even on the 68,000 Amiga. So really great to share those with you guys. I think really what we should do now is just crack on. Let me just have a look at the chat and we'll get going. I just want to show you a few pictures before we start as well. Let's have a look at the chat here. Oh yeah, Juggler Demo, yeah, how legendary. Scala, yeah, I love Scala, Ravi. Hi Mad Pete, how you doing? So, yeah, Ravi's 8-bit mix. I didn't catch all of it, sadly, but I did listen to a little bit the tail end of it. But yeah, it's good to share some nice big box Amiga application software, because usually we just look at games and stuff, but I like my retro productivity. So yeah, so let's just show you one last thing on the webcam. Okay, so this is a sketch that I quickly did yesterday. Usually I like to work from a reference. It doesn't always happen, whether it's a photograph or whether it's a sketch like this. But it just helps me work out proportions, you know, how things flow. It's just my way of doing things. If I'm using a graphics tablet, I don't tend to do this so much. But I find when you're going to do a piece of pixel art like this, it tends to, for me, I find it easier if I've actually worked on it to start with. So, but I also love drawing, so which shouldn't come as any surprise. I mean, basically that was my real introduction into pixel art, was the fact that I loved drawing as a kid anyway. You know, I was always doodling from a young age. My mum would always tells me, probably every time I go and visit, that, oh, do you remember when we used to push you around in your pushchair and you'll be sat there doodling away in your little notepad, you know, like 2 years old, making just random scribblings and stuff. And so these are the two characters. This is Asusa Nakano and Yui Hirasawa, both from the anime K-On! It's a completely smushy, lovey-dovey, lovely, saccharine sort of anime, but I love it. I think there's too much grit and violence and stuff in the world. I think there's a place for something that's really cute. So basically we're going to at least sketch the outline of this tonight. What are we doing for time? 25 past 8. Oh, we're doing okay, actually. Yui tends to give Asusa this nickname of Asnian, and this in hiragana is Asnian, so Azunya. So that's what the hiragana stands for. So that's basically what we're going to be working on tonight. So let's transition this over to the webcam and the Amiga stream. Hopefully this isn't going to kill everything dead. Oh wow, let's have a little look at the chat. Yeah, I'm just going to make sure. Hope AV is still good. Wow, literally my MacBook is like, it's working a bit like my Amiga 600, like you press one key and then it comes out a couple of seconds later. Only joking. The Amiga 600 is much quicker. Right. So let's flick this over. I'm just going to click on this and then okay. Let's click on that. Oh. Okay, I've just switched it over to using the Amiga's display as well as the Elgato thing. It seems to be a little bit cropped, so I'm just going to adjust the display a bit, guys, because it's changed, because that's just what computers do, isn't it? Just change things. It's damn things. Edit transform. Oh God, left. Do. Oh, hang on. If I click 0, no. 10, 20, 25, 50. Let's go 50. Oh, just need to. How do I? Let's bring that down there. And if I crop, ooh. Do you know, it's so strange how these things just change aspect. Oops, no, I can't minimise it. I'm going to explain all this in a minute, guys, because this is all part of the rigmarole that I've had setting up this stream tonight. Edit transform again. These values were absolutely perfect earlier on, guys, but it's obviously changed because, like I say, computers just do stuff like that, don't they? Oh no, you don't want to cut more off the bottom. I think with these skills, I've definitely got a chance for a second series at the BBC. Okay. I think that will do. Okay, so hopefully you can see the Amiga screen, and yeah, hopefully it's all working fine. Yeah, actually that looks pretty good. So let's just click on here. Right, okay, you guys say that the stream's holding up well, so hopefully you're going to be able to see this okay. Hopefully you can also see me chatting away and there's not too much lag. So Phil asks, what is going on with how am I doing the stream? So, yeah, I had problems with getting it to work on my Mac Mini, which is much faster. It's got like quad-core i7 in it, so I'm having to route this through my MacBook Air, which is quite old, but it's got an i7, so that's something. And I'm using OBS, Open Broadcast Software, or whatever it stands for. And the downside, though, is that I'm actually having to keep the Elgato software open so that it can take a capture of the Elgato window, so rather than it being fed straight into OBS, because there isn't a driver for Elgato Game Capture HD on the Mac that works with OBS. Sounds like, what's that bowel thing that you get? OBS, irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. It sounds more like that. I'll tell you what, it's given me irritable bowel syndrome earlier on. It has to be said, all this stuff. So, right, I think we're all good. So, okay, cool. Okay, so Ravi says it's a little bit laggy when I've got the 600 on screen as well, but totally watchable. Okay, I hope it's all right, guys. So hopefully it's not going to completely bog down the minute that I start doing stuff for the 600, because that would be a real shame and you'll just spend half an hour listening to me ramble on. So I'm just going to show you some pictures which are pretty cool, which all help to explain the allure of the Amiga to me. Yeah, hi Simone. Nice to see you here. So, yeah, we've got quite a few in the chat. Oh, 21 viewers. Wow, I didn't imagine 21 people would be interested in this. Minus 21, maybe. The Elgato not able to keep up, but it's looking great anyway. Thanks, Sanzian. Yeah, it's not great. I hope this won't be too crap. I think what I'm going to have to do is probably look at doing this through emulation next time. It's too late to probably do that now, but let's soldier on. We'll just see how it goes. So yeah, Andy Warhol, you know, iconic figure in the art world, you know, and probably most famous for his saying everybody was famous for 15 minutes. So hopefully my 15 minutes won't be of me explaining why this is lagging really badly. But anyway, so yeah, this is a cover of Amiga World magazine where they interviewed him. He was famously featured at the launch of the Amiga in 1985 in New York at the Lincoln Center, where he painted a picture of Debbie Harry out of Blondie, and he had previously done some sort of like his silkscreen pop-art pictures. Hopefully this is going to make sense. This is not Debbie Harry. This is Daniel Silver. He's the original programmer or developer of Deluxe Paint, from the first version right through to version 3. Just going to check. Yeah, real hardware with slight lag is fine. Cool. Okay, thanks, Ian. Yeah. Yeah, cool. This is good. So yeah, so Daniel Silver, what a man. Yeah, he went on to work at Autodesk, I think, after he finished at Electronic Arts. So yeah. This is legendary Amiga pixel artist Jim Sachs, somebody who, whilst I couldn't hope to live up to his standards, I draw a lot of inspiration from him. Very influential Amiga artist, and yeah, you know, it was great to see his pieces to camera in Bedrooms to Billions. Is it Bedrooms to Billions? Amiga years. That was a really great documentary. If you've not got watched that, I would say probably out of the ones that have come out, like Viva Amiga, the 8-bit generation. I seem to think there was another one, but Bedrooms to Billions, both the first film and the second film, epic films to watch. You know, 2.5 hours of sheer retro goodness. So what else we got next? This is pretty cool. Found a cover of NME magazine, which obviously featured an interview with Andy Warhol and Debbie Harry. But I just love this, you know, sort of NME, New Musical Express, featuring Amiga on the front of its cover. How cooler can you get? So, and I'll just point out that these pictures are actually coming straight through from my Amiga 600 in hand mode. Yeah, I just thought, why show these on sort of like 24-bit colour when you can just show some ham pictures? Everybody loves a bit of low-res ham. So Trip Hawkins, founder of Electronic Arts, just love this picture of him wearing his snazzy jumper, and an Amiga 1000 there. So very iconic photo, featured in quite a bold advert that was featured in quite a few publications in the States. Amiga World for one, sort of like how Electronics Arts were committed to the Amiga, and to be fair, they really were actually. They really did see it good actually, until sort of probably they switched their focus more towards game development with the advent of things like the Mega Drive or the Genesis and stuff like that. So okay, so these are the girls from K-On! Who we're going to be doing some characters of, and I mustn't forget that I'm actually going to do some artwork tonight. It'd be easy just for me to ramble on. So yeah, it's completely random aside, but my whole sort of getting into anime and stuff is a story for another video. But I just like these girls. I think you know, K-On!, if you don't mind something that's a bit, I don't know how you meant to describe these things these days. It's quite girly, but I think it's appropriate for anybody who's got, you know, doesn't mind sweet, sugary sort of coming of age stories. It's quite delightful. So, and what else we got here? Oh, this is the fairly iconic, I think it's silkscreen print that Warhol did of Debbie Harry in 1980. So quite an iconic image. But you can see how this image that Andy Warhol made in 1980 translated to the idea of using a digitizer like the DigiView or whatever the setup was that they had in the Lincoln Center, where basically a black and white photo or capture of Debbie Harry was then used against Graphicraft in sort of like the background. So yeah, really cool. You can see how they got to that point. So oh, another iconic image of Debbie Harry and Andy Warhol. So with the image that Andy created on the Amiga live without crashing, the flood fill held up. Yeah, so really iconic image, and yeah, just I think that just gives a bit of a rounded introduction to how this all came about. So I could show you stuff that I've been working on. So just to give you a bit of an idea of just quickly, because I'm aware that we're now 35 minutes in and I've not done a single bit of drawing. But for example, this is something I'm working on. These are actually going to be frames of an animation, but essentially this is the kind of stuff I'm working on. You can see at the very bottom there around the shoulders and the neckline and so forth. As is just, it's very rough and ready at the moment, but that's because I'm adjusting everything to make these frames of animation. But it goes to show you that with very few colours, with low resolution like 320 by 256, you can do some really cool stuff. So that's pretty awesome. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to be doing. So without further ado, let's crack on. So let's fire up D-Paint. Okay, that's okay. We'll just close down a few bits here. Just to point out, my Amiga 600 is It's very basic. For me, this is part of its charm. Back in the day, I used to have, my Amiga 1200 did have a 68040. It was a 40 megahertz Apollo 1240. I had that for a couple of years or so, and then eventually snagged a Blizzard PPC, which I had for certainly at least half a year before I quit the Amiga scene in 2000. So, but part of the Amiga's charm for me these days is actually the fact that I'm just trying to find sysinfo here. That, you know, it's just nice to see what a 68,000 Amiga can do. I don't think I have sysinfo on here, do I? Must be on one of my other Amigas. But yeah, just to point out, let's open up the shell. You know, just a 68,000. You know, and basically I've got 2 mega chip RAM in here and 2 mega fast RAM on the PCMCIA. So yeah, so you can see 2,820 kilobytes through. So you don't need that much to do this kind of stuff. So let's go to PAL low res. Let's bring this forwards. 16 colours, use. Right, okay, so I'm just going to bring in a starter palette. I did a video all about mixing colours a while back now, so check that out if you're not sure about how to create nice colours. The reason I'm using this predefined palette is because this is actually an image that I'm going to use as part of the animation I'm working on, which will be in my next video, which has become a bit of an epic. So, I've gone with a pre-prepared palette here. Let's just check the stream. Oh no. Let's just check that this is okay. Just checking that everybody's okay with the stream, so. I'm probably not seeing everybody's messages actually, because I've got this set to top chat and I really need to have it on everything, don't I? About a minute behind. Yeah. Ooh, how can I improve that? Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's quite way behind even in Elgato. I'm just looking at it now. It's way behind. How bizarre. So actually, it looks like the delay isn't so much what OBS is capturing. It's actually more the Elgato is just way behind. I'm not really sure what I can do to improve that. Yeah, because then what's happening is it's delayed getting into OBS. Okay, right. Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna go with it, I guess. Not really sure what else to do. If this gets too confusing, guys, just say. I do apologise for the technical difficulties. I'm far from a pro streamer. I'm not the most technical, you know, sort of internet guru. I don't actually really do social media apart from Twitter and this YouTube stuff. So, yeah. So this is all a bit lost to me. So we're going to start out with our canvas. It's just literally. Let's have a look at the settings. Yeah, 320 by 256. So I'm actually just going to increase this to overscan because that's what I'm creating my animation in. Actually, I also need to set that with the screen format. There we go. Use. Hi William, hope you're okay. Yeah, the version of Deluxe Paint that I'm using is Deluxe Paint 4 AGA. Works fine on all ECS and OCS Amigas as well. So I assume that Workbench 1.3 kicks up 1.3 as a minimum. I'm not aware that it runs on. Actually, tell a lie. The original Deluxe Paint 4 works absolutely fine on 1.3 Amigas, probably 1.2 as well, I'm going to guess. But there is one thing that stops Deluxe Paint 4 AGA working on Workbench 1.3, and that's that screen mode request you just saw. You can see it uses GAD tools, which is part of Kickstart 2. So, yeah. Anyway, so I've got my canvas now, and the way that we start this is that we're going to use stencils. And I'm just going to choose this light blue colour, which I'm not actually going to use in the design. And what we do is we just start out by just doing a basic sketch. So this is just going to be using some principles that you would do with drawing in general, whether it's on computer or paper. It's just working out the proportions. And so I can start with a little circle tool. And I just don't want to make this too big, because remember, we're going to need quite a bit of room to fit both these characters in. So I'm going to say that about there is about right. And then what we need to do is we need to divide this circle up into sort of where the central point of the face is going to be, both horizontally and vertically. So, and also the where the eye level is. So if you remember this sketch, you can see that Aziz's eyes are just slightly on a sort of like an angle. So we're just going to maintain that. So, so let's just draw that in. I'm not going to be too accurate about this. It's quite important actually just to point out that there's no precision about this as far as I'm concerned. As long as you're in the right ballpark, it's fine. And because Aziz's face is quite straight on to the viewer, as it were, we can pretty much... Actually, let's bring this over a bit. I'm just undoing a few lines there. Let's get this roughly in the middle. There we go. So you can see that that's roughly the centre of the face, but I'm not going to take that as, you know, red, as it were. So we're just sketching this out now. And what we've also got Yui, who's on the right-hand side. So I'm just going to sketch roughly her positioning. Again, I'm just going to use the circle tool. And what I might do is I might actually just draw her face just a little bit bigger, because she's a little bit closer to us in the sketch. But also she's just a little bit older as well, so she is going to be just have a slightly larger face. And I've drawn that away from my original picture of Aziza, because I didn't want to sort of complicate overwriting this. And I'm just going to slightly overlap, because if you remember the picture, they're actually sort of hugging. So let's just get rid of the outline there, so you can see that they're actually overlapping here, so like so. Like Rabbit said, do a bit of chat a bit whilst we see the picture catch up. That sounds like a good plan. You guys know what you're on about. Okay, so I'm just going to let this catch up. So yeah, let's just have a little look at the questions. Oops. Wow, my MacBook is literally taking seconds between key presses actually to show them on the screen, so I'm really stressing this old laptop, sorry. Might be worth resetting the Elgato, that's an idea. Okay, let's just let this catch up, and I might just do what Sanzian suggested, which is to catch up. What's the longest time I spent on a drawing? Gosh, blimey. Well, on the Amiga, probably 3 to 4 days, Ravi. pretty crazy. I mean, maybe when 20 odd years ago, there was times when I spent even longer in that. I just can't remember now, but certainly this year, I worked on one picture at the very start of January. I wasn't very well. I spent 2 days working on that, so pretty much finished it though. And then the other weekend, stroke into the week, I worked on a high-res picture, so 640 by 512, or high-res interlace. That took me quite a few nights, quite a few days. So, okay, it's a Game Capture HD Sansian. I don't know if it's a HD 60 or not. It might just be a Game Capture HD. Okay. Let me just, I think, yeah, it's still drawing away there, isn't it? So I'm just going to let the Elgato catch up, and I'm going to try reset it. And then I think what I'm going to do, guys, is that I might just draw and chat, because otherwise this isn't going to work, is it? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, it's almost caught up now. So strange, really, because when I'm recording, just not streaming from the Elgato, it works absolutely fine. And I think part of it is the fact that I'm having to capture the Elgato window as a screen capture in OBS to get this stream to work at all, because I promised the Elgato software as well. So bit of a double whammy. Okay, I think we've caught up. So I'm just going to try resetting the Elgato and see if we can get something working a bit better here. Hey Neil, how are you doing? I'm having a few problems with the stream, so this might be literally the worst stream that you've ever watched. Oh dear. Let's just try Elgato. Oh, hang on, I've got it in my start menu. Not start menu, dock. Oh, I've been using a Mac for now. Oh, Robert's here. Hi, Robert. How are you? Oh, I hope you're well. Really loved the swag meet back in January, back in Chipping Sodbury. That was awesome. See, this is the weird thing, is that my Elgato says nothing is connected, so I have to unplug it, plug it back in, and then it says it works. Okay, let's just see how quickly that picks up that I've done something. Yeah, the lag's pretty bad, isn't it? Oh, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it regardless of the technical difficulties. It's frustrating, and to be honest with you, this is why I don't have much to do with computers if I can help it, because they always play up. Well, modern day computers, that is, with all this fancy stuff, because, yeah. Right, okay, what I'm going to do, guys, so I'm going to keep an eye on the stream. I'm going to answer questions as soon as I can, but I probably will get quite absorbed in the drawing, and I'll just do a bit of commentary. It might be a bit lagged in terms of what I'm doing, and what I hope we'll do is that we'll get this all sorted out for the next time that I do this. So, okay, yes, I do hope to be at the next swag meeting, Neil, so yeah. Okay, let's crack on. So, characters I'm drawing, that was asked in the channel by... let's just see, hey Barkbit, how are you doing? Unfortunately, I can't even scroll at the chat log. My laptop is literally straight. These are the characters. I'm really sorry I can't see you the name person who asked, because my laptop is being so slow. Yeah. I can't get the words out. Asusa Nakano and Yui Hirasawa out of K-On! That's who we're drawing. So let's crack on. So I've basically drawn some outlines, and I'm just marking the central points of the faces roughly. There's no exact science to this. It's just to get a bit of an idea. Okay, great. So I've got my two characters, and then what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to start roughly working out where the jaw lines are going to be. So I know that Azazel has a fairly, not square jaw, but it's slightly squarer. So this is, like I say, just a sketch. So, okay. And you'll notice that I'm just using the line tool at the moment. This is just to, you know, get the very basics down, so just so that we can ink in the actual proper details shortly. So hopefully some of you are looking at this thinking, huh, well, that doesn't look like much different to what I'm doing. So how comes mine doesn't end up like some of the stuff that I see on other people's channels and stuff like that? So hopefully this will be illuminating. Yui has quite pudgy cheeks, I'm going to say. I think actually doing this, I really appreciate how much work doing these live streams is. I mean, I always knew that they were super intensive for whoever's hosting them, but my word, the stuff you have to get prepared in advance, oh man. So I'm just roughly drawing in these jaw lines here. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, so this is very rough indeed. And of course, the whole idea of me talking at the same time is actually, wow, it's quite stressful, to be honest with you. Okay, so we've got our two characters roughly sketched in there. So now I'm going to think about actually inking in these details. So what we can do with Deluxe Paint, and this is probably going to appear a minute later, but we can fix the background. And Deluxe Paint doesn't have layers. You just basically have a canvas, but you can fix backgrounds. And what this does is it protects everything that is currently there, so that, you know, if you draw over it, you can erase it and you can still see what's behind. So I'm going to switch that on and go to Effect, Background, Fix. That's available in Deluxe Paint 3. I'm pretty certain it's in Deluxe Paint 2 as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm mostly just going to work on Azazel to start with, because she's going to be hidden behind Yui, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw her whole face, and I'm going to save that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm then going to work on Yui, just purely because I need to do this as an animation. So I need actually to have their full faces so that as the animation happens, it reveals parts of their faces that, you know, you otherwise can't see on the first frame. So that's just a little nuance of what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to start inking this in now. And just to illustrate the point about this background, I can scribble like so, and I can click clear, and it will disappear. So that will probably appear about tomorrow. So if you're tuned in tomorrow, you'll see this weird thing happening. Okay, let's just check the chat. Oh, 26 people watching. What's my favourite thing to draw in D-Paint? Asks Ian. Hi Ian, how you doing? Yeah, Bill makes the streams look easy. God, man. Yeah, he does. Pro. What a pro Bill is. What's my favourite thing to draw? Well, I love drawing manga anyway, so I'm probably going to say manga. But I do actually quite like drawing sort of actual landscapes. I hope to do a video about that as well soon. So that's probably my two favourite things to draw. But yeah, manga tends to win the battle. Yeah, okay, so let's start inking. So I'm going to start with the jawline because this is usually the hardest bit to get right. And you'll notice that I'm already revising, or you will do when my video catches up. I'm already kind of revising my initial outlines, just purely because I can tell from many years of doing this sort of where my sketch isn't quite right. Obviously, in real life, that would result in me sort of erasing the markings. With Depaint or with any modern tool, you would have obviously the option to use something like the brush tool to pick up and erase, not erase, pick up a chunk as a brush and then flip it, to get an equal symmetry. But unless you're doing straight on pictures, it's actually just easier just to revise like this. I'm quite happy with that. It's quite important to make sure these jaw lines, whilst they're at different angles, are actually got the same curvature as, I mean, obviously in real life, nobody's jaw is perfectly symmetrical. Unless you're Kim Kardashian. I'm sure she takes some magic elixir, which you can only get via her Instagram, to give you perfect jaw lines, otherwise known as a liquify filter, I believe. But jokes aside, when it comes to obviously manga, you'll find that pretty much it has to be symmetrical. That's part of what's going to give it that that equal look. I've probably made that worse actually. I'm just going to zoom in here. You'll see I actually spend quite a lot of time on the outline. It seems like, oh gosh, that's arduous, but believe me, if you get this outline right, you're onto a good path. I'm just going to try the curve tool because this is at a different angle. I'm just want to see live on screen some different options. See, I think we're looking at something like that. Okay, that's great. We can always perfect the jawline and indeed the outline as we sketch. But in the interest of you guys getting to bed at some point tonight, yeah. Bill is indeed a professional videographer, 20 years experience. Yeah, I mean, my speciality outside of this and my day job is photography, so I'm strictly still images. So yeah, but he still does it so well regardless of that experience. You can see also that I'm making full use of this stencil, or the background fix, rather, just to erase certain markings. So yeah, this is looking okay. And the thing that I always start with first, and this applies to whether it's a pencil sketch or whether it's a drawing right here, right now, is the eyes. And this line here, which is roughly in the middle of the circle, this is actually going to be the very top of the eyebrow arch. And you'll notice that, again, if I just bring the sketch up, you'll see that Azza has one eye closed from where she's been hugged for dear life, and that's going to be roughly halfway down from the slightly open eye. So I always start with the eyes first. So I will start with the open eye, and again, I'm just going to roughly sketch in, just using the black pen here, the arch of the eye. You'll see that when I do this, it's not perfect, but you know, that's one of the beauties of using a computer, is that you can go back and you can correct those mistakes. So I'm just bringing that down there. That's gone a bit squiffy there. Let's get rid of that. One of the things with Depaint is that you choose your background pen colour as well. You just go into the palette, right click on the swatch, and that will change it to, and then the background colour. So you could eventually, you'll see that the background swatch changes when you right click on the palette. Yeah, so let's just draw in here. Just the eyelash. I'm still using this line tool thank you guys for persevering with the stream. It must be really hard for you to follow. Just going to use a little fill tool here just to fill in these gaps. Just going to zoom in. There you go. One of the things that I highly recommend with D-Paint is that you learn the keyboard shortcuts, because it will speed up your workflow and it will allow you to do things that you can't do actually just with the mouse. So, for example, you can magnify whilst you're cutting a brush out. If you're struggling, for example, you can be cutting your brush and you can just hit the M key and that will zoom you in. Let's just check the chat. Oh, cool. I'm glad you guys are finding this relaxing. I'll be honest with you, this is why I like doing this. I love my games and stuff, but I was about to say that I play kind of relaxing games, but I was actually playing some Street Fighter 2 Alpha the other day. It's not very relaxing, is it? But I love the pixel and it's great. Absolutely stunning. I think a lot of people will agree that when you look back on that sort of 32-bit generation, that did they call it the 5th generation of consoles? They you'll find the games that have, at least aesthetically, have aged the best are the ones that didn't go all out 3D. So, you know, stuff like I say, the aforementioned Street Fighter 2 Alpha, Rayman, tough as nails game, but I do love it. But it's absolutely beautiful to look at. Absolutely gorgeous pixel art in there. I don't think that was what's the chap's name who did Lomax and Flink? Henk. Oh, Henk. Oh, I'm trying to remember his name now, but yeah, he's an amazing. He started with Lionheart, didn't he, on the Amiga, and yeah. So I find yeah, this is pretty relaxing. I find drawing in general quite relaxing. My day job is developing websites, something that I couldn't do without having owned an Amiga, as I followed a tutorial in CU Amiga magazine in, when would it have been? Probably 95 or something like that. Taught me all I needed to know about doing websites. And yeah, thank God I did do that, because actually I wouldn't. Oh, I don't know why that's not cut out. Yeah, because without that I wouldn't be able to well, do my day job, quite frankly. I'm just fiddling with this eye a bit. Or eventually you'll see me fiddling with the eye a bit. Just because I want to, you know, get these things right. It's just. I'll be honest with you. Doing this stream is really nerve-wracking. I know you guys are not going to be judging. At least most of you won't be. But you know, I am definitely feeling the pressure. Because, you know, I don't want to disappoint you guys. You know, I know that I can do this, but I want you guys to actually get something actually out of this. So I feel like I'm probably overcompensating a bit. So that's the left eye roughly done, and I'm just going to very basically sketch out the highlight, which is in the corner. Okay. Just going to get that now. It's cool. Just going to flood fill this bit. Okay, cool. You'll notice as I'm doing this, I'm not anti-aliasing anything. For those who don't know what that is, anti-aliasing is giving the illusion of softer edges, because obviously this is low resolution, so you have these abrupt edges between the colours. So anti-aliasing is the way of using close colours to patch in the different colour, so that it blends nicely. So eventually I will anti-alias this, but for now we're just going to keep this quite basic. Just going to use, probably going to use this mauve here, just to roughly hint at the eye colour, which again, so yeah, like I say, I find it's those 32-bit generation, that fifth generation, it's the games that did 2D that still look the most spectacular. There are a few exceptions to that. I think one of the ones that did it quite well was Grandia, brilliant JRPG on, I think that's on the Saturn, and also the PlayStation, the original PlayStation. It's a 3D environment that you sort of obviously roam around, but the characters, the sprites they are sprites. They're not 3D models. They're not 3D polygons. And I find that's a great game. And it also, when you're looking at dialogue with the characters, it's they have these beautiful pixel art depictions of them. It just looks stunning, and you know, the 3D does look a bit ropey in it, I'll be honest, but you know, it's a game that came out over 20 years ago now, and it's just got an epic storyline. I like my JRPGs, and yeah, I think that's one that has aged well. Actually, I'm just going to ink in those eyebrow a little bit more. How's the chat doing? Oh, thanks, Raw. Great to see you. Thanks for joining. I'm sorry it's been a bit laggy. Thanks, Pishbot, as well. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are getting something out. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Really, I tried my best to do a successful first stream, but I think it's going okay. I mean, it's not too bad, but. Yeah, Sanzian, I've never actually owned a Saturn, and I couldn't tell you the last time I played on one. It's almost certainly back in the 90s. Actually, I'm going to just bring that pixel down here, because remember, Azaza has been hugged to dear life, so she's been squozen. I'm just going to draw in the other eye. I can tell now that the jawline just needs a bit more refinement actually on this. So, and I'm also going to move the eye because it's just too far over there. There we go. Just going to bring it down. There we go. Good. I'll bring this over here, dot. And yeah, just going to, and remember, like I say, she's got this eye that's just sort of like, you know, she's almost wincing, isn't she? So we need this eye to sort of look a bit wincy. And also remember, as I say, it appears sort of roughly halfway down from the open eye, or the partially open eye. So yeah, and again, you know, still using this line tool. This is what I'm using most of the time doing this. It's yeah, it's pretty essential actually. It's just that the freehand tool it's just too hard to do freehand for something that requires a bit of precision like manga, or just cartoon characters in general. Because you know, obviously a single click is going to allow you to stamp down a single pixel anyway. See, I'm using brushes quite a bit here, just to reposition a little. Yeah, I think we're okay there. So I'm just going to adjust this jawline because it's just not sitting well with me, I'll be honest. I think it's too tall. If you think Azaza's ear's got to go in here as well, I just don't think the angle's right. So I'm going to refine this. Right-clicking with the tools will use the background colour, and also full stop on the keyboard will return you back to the single pixel wide brush. Handy little shortcut. Just going to bring this up here. Right-clicking when you've got the brush tool will cut the brush. So rather than taking a copy of it, it will cut the brush. So that's quite a handy tip. Actually, probably. Yeah, I think a jawline was pretty much where I had it originally on the sketch. See? Don't always get it right. How are we doing on the chat? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did I say viral? I can't remember. I think I did. Yeah. Oh, I've got a few participants still, so this is cool. To be honest with you, I've got more participants than I expected for this. I think also it's not just... I've done that wrong. I don't think it's just a technicality. I'm actually really aware of just, you know, how difficult this streaming lark is now. It's not easy, is it? I definitely feel that pressure. Okay, this looks a bit better. I still don't think it's perfect, but it's better. Of course, I am a bit of a perfectionist with these things, but practice makes perfect. You know, and hopefully by seeing somebody who ostensibly knows what they're doing, critiquing what they're doing, hopefully it sort of gives you a bit more confidence about your own progress when you're doing this. Because, you know, let's be honest, it can be very easy to get discouraged and then look at Pinterest or wherever you get your inspiration from and think, oh, how on earth did they manage to get that? You know, I could never be as good as that. And the truth of the matter is that what you're seeing is the end result. Just like any piece of artwork, whether it's, you know, a book or if it's a video, film, animation, painting, photograph, you know. What you don't see is all of what's gone on in the background. You know, like what struggles did that person have when sort of trying to put that together. So, okay, so this is not looking too bad. I'm just gonna now put in the eyebrows. Now these roughly, one of the things that will be coming up in the video that I'm going to do, or I'm working on at the moment, and have been for some time, is actually going into these proportions in a more methodical way. So how these are divided up, but roughly a third above. When I say a third, it's roughly, if you divide this top half of the circle into thirds, one of those thirds is where you'll have the eyebrow. And the eyebrows are really important to get right because, you know, whether it's, you know, in this case it's like manga or, you know, like cartoons, so important to just, you know, get the eyebrows right, because it's actually going to tell you more about that person's expression than, you know, their mouth. Sometimes, you know, it's going to reveal happiness, joy. It's going to reveal, you know, sort of anger, or in this case, sort of almost mild irritation, or being slightly embarrassed. So yeah, it's important to get eyebrows right, guys. I really recommend, if you enjoy your manga and you want to get better at drawing it, check out Mark Crilly's YouTube channel. He's brilliant. He does a video, I think, every week, and he's a great guy. He's entertaining to listen to. He's super talented, and yeah, you'll probably learn more from him than me. But he doesn't. It's not pixel art what he's doing. He's doing just, you know, normal drawing. But seriously, he's really impressive to listen to. I just think he's an all-round top guy. He's funny. Right now, he would be probably remarking about, "Don't forget the blushies, Vicky. Don't forget the blushies." The blushies are obviously blushing cheeks. But yeah, if you like your manga, and if you're a bit like me, that you don't like to just literally live off of internet how-to, is to you don't want to make this too short. Is to pick up his book, How to Draw Manga, I think it is, or something like that. I think there's three in the series. If you pick up the first one, that really breaks it down into simple terms. You know, I'll be honest. You know, none of these books are one-stop shops to, you know, drawing like a banshee, but yeah, I don't see the chapter too well, so yeah, graphics go. Not played that in actually. Yeah, this is looking okay now. I think it's just something about the eye that doesn't look right to me. I'm not sure what it is yet. I'm just going to extend down here a little bit. But you can see with the line tool, I can actually approximate curves quite nicely. And of course, obviously, the thing to bear in mind is that this is on an angle. This is not the first thing you'll see in Mark Crilley's book, for example, or any of those how-to books. You know, because you'll just get a straight-on portrait with no perspective shifts and stuff like that. So, you know, if I wanted to make this stream a difficult, you know, or this first drawing a difficult one, then, you know, 10 points to Vicky, I think, because this idea of getting the perspective right is it's one of the more tricky things that you can leap straight into. So, but you can see that this is not a quick process. This isn't something where you just sit down and you go, yeah, done. Another little thing about what I'm capturing here, very slowly that is that I'm recording the Amiga 600 on composite, which I would really rather not do. Obviously, composite is very fuzzy. It is very low grade. But the issue I've got is, and again with the Elgato, is that whilst my SCART to HDMI adapter will happily scale, you know, sort of like the screen nicely, you know, sort of in 4:3 aspect. As soon as I put that into the Elgato, it just doesn't pick it up until you put it into a widescreen mode on the SCART to HDMI adapter. Now, at a pinch, if you're playing a game to record some footage, you can get away with it. But it's a real no-no when you're doing any form of artwork, because obviously you're relying on that to give you the correct aspect ratio. It's a very tricky thing to do if you're looking at like a widescreen representation of something, and yeah, that's not easy to get that right. So in order to get the 4:3 aspect ratio, what I find that I have to do is basically record over composite, because the Elgato will then pick it up, and yeah, then it's okay. But of course, obviously, you have to put up with a really terrible quality recording. So 6 of one, half a dozen of another comes to mind. I think actually part of what's making this eye not work is that this is tipping over too much here. Yeah, let's just get rid of that. As you can see, I'm not afraid to be destructive with what I do. If I know it's not right, I will go in and I'll correct it. Yeah. Are there any tools in D-Paint that you never use and will never use? good question. Yeah, I personally, not because it doesn't have any use, because it certainly does, but I don't use the symmetry tool very much. I used to love it when I was younger. It was really cool. Create some really awesome patterns, but for the stuff that I do, it doesn't really have much use. The only thing that I do use it for, and if I ever do manage to somehow do a JRPG for the Amiga, which would involve me becoming a much better programmer than I am, which is unlikely, would be to do tile art, to make sure things, in terms of how they tile, looks good. So yeah, symmetry tool I don't use a lot. I find the grid tool a bit weird in D-Paint for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it never snaps to what I think it's. The grid it sets up, it just doesn't seem right to me. Okay, it's not looking too bad. Yeah, let's take that in there. What else wouldn't I use on D-Paint? Don't really use the airbrush tool much. You'll probably see this in about 5 minutes time. But yeah, it's pretty useless as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I don't really use that very much. Other tools I don't use. What's in the menus that I don't use? I don't really use the bending tools that much. Yeah. Again, there's lots of stuff that I probably don't use that I've kind of forgotten. Yeah, I also noticed there was some chat about personal paint. Michael Battilana was at Amiga Ireland, and obviously his company Quanto was the company behind personal paint originally. Oops. And obviously I was using Deluxe Paint, so. But I just explained to him. I mean, he was totally cool with it, obviously. But I just explained it's just familiarity for me. It's just what I'm used to. Yeah. Okay, so there's Azusa. It's very basic at the moment. Yeah, so I'm just going to complete her. Yeah, how are we doing for time? 25 past 9. So what I think I'm going to do, guys, is I'm just going to see how far I get up to about 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. And then I'm going to probably end the stream there. And then I'm going to look to pick this up probably next Sunday, if I can do it, or maybe next Saturday in the evening. I'm probably going to do this on FSUAE on the Mac, because what I can then do is I can probably use my laptop to use FSUAE and then get that output into my Mac Mini, which is more powerful and will hopefully capture the video better. Yeah, Personal Paint's really good, Graham. I do like it. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's got multiple undos. Why would I suffer Deluxe Paint? I think a lot of it comes down to nostalgia for me. I'll be honest. And nostalgia ain't what it used to be, is it? What they say, isn't it? So I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm aware that I whisper a little bit sometimes, but I think it's because I'm thinking as well. Okay, I'm fairly happy with that. I don't think it's great. I think it's good enough. You'll see what I'm referring to in a bit. So I'm now going to save what I've done, because I haven't saved any of this yet. But I do find that, generally speaking, D-Paint 4 is pretty stable. So, but let's not take it for granted. So let's save that as 1A. There we go. Just to explain, my naming convention is a bit weird, but basically, as I stitch up the images, basically I complete one character, and that will always be like Azusa 1, for example. And then when I finish that, as I iterate on that character, I'll add a letter. So like the first iteration of Azazel will be like 1A, and then I'll do 1B for when I've got a bit further on, 1C, etc., until I finish, and then I'll just call it Azazel 1 Final or something like that. So then I've got that character. Then I'll probably go back to my initial outline, and then I'll start on as 2A, and that'll be the second character. It's a bit of a weird naming scheme, really, but and then I'll build it up 2A, 2B, 2C, etc., and eventually put final after it. And once I've drawn all my characters, I'll then have 2 separate characters, which I can then bring back in as brushes, and then I can animate them using those final versions. And of course, obviously, with the animation, you would have to tweak certain things for movement, such as like the hair moving, just to make sure it looks natural, but that's how I do it. Just to explain my naming. Yeah, teach stuff weekly. Cool. Okay. Oh, William, you're learning a lot. That's really cool. Oh, I'm glad that people are getting something out of this. I'm aware that the stream is like literally probably about I don't know, 15 years behind. But we all know where we are up with that. So let's draw in the hair. Well, I'm drawing in the hair. I don't know about you guys. You're probably still on me drawing the outline of Azaz's jaw. So I'm just going to rough. Oh, I'm on a curve tool still. And this is actually where Personal Paint's multiple undo walks all over D-Paint. Okay, so it'd be cool to hear, Graham, what you find really beneficial out of Personal Paint. So, hey Era42, hey Neil. Gosh, there's loads of people who've joined that I've probably not said hello to. Oh, did I miss somebody leaving as well? Oh, Sanjian's gone. Sorry, Sanjian, I missed you. It's great to see Tim in the stream anyway. So, but yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap this up around about 10 o'clock, guys, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time this week working out how I can improve things for next week. So, yeah, this has been a real learning curve, says me as I'm drawing curves. But yeah, basically what I'm doing here now is I'm drawing in quite roughly the hair. Again, this is just a first stab at this, and if I'd been sensible, I'd actually have done these outlines in blue, so I could erase them easily with a stencil. But I haven't really touched on stencils that much today, so whether I get onto stencils today, it might be next week now. Yeah. Oh, thanks for the nice comments, Doug. That's really kind. So I'm just going to use the curve tool here because this is quite helpful actually. I might just actually come out of here a bit because I've got this sweeping lock of hair that's coming down here. And again, really what I'm doing here is I'm just doing this by eye. There's no real formula to this. It's just practice. It really genuinely is. I think there are too many things in this day and age which, people are looking for quick fixes. A new application, a new job, a new house, a new car. I get taking this back rather in a philosophical way, but taking it back to application software, that applications always promise to make things easier and better than new enhanced tools, and quite often they do, but also, a lot of it is going to come down to sheer perseverance. I'm actually going to cut this hair. And frankly, like anything in life, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and working out how you can improve. At least that's the way what I say to myself when I'm making a mess of everything. I'm still talking about the pixel art, by the way. Yeah, that looks better. So yeah, literally, if you find that it's not working for you, don't give up. It is much better for you to actually spend some time just trying, just have fun with it. I mean, too much of what and this is just purely a personal opinion now, too much of our time is invested in living our lives very publicly. This is me doing a live stream. But you know, this whole social media generation has, in some instances, normalised the sharing of everything that we do, and sometimes, and I'm guilty of this sometimes, we you know, to seek to have value in our and what we create or whatever, we seek the validation of others through sort of the response in social media. And you know, and if you're aspiring to, you know, do artwork for games, or to do a channel like mine, which is just a completely amateur effort, as this stream will tell you, you know, it puts a lot of pressure on ourselves to be good at things, and that level of intense pressure is never good. You know, that it's you've got to give yourself time to learn something in life. I think, you know, to be good at something, you've got to, you know, you've got to derive something out of it when it's not going well. And if you've got this pressure on you that you've got to deliver something because you want to do a YouTube channel, or you want to do game art, and it's not coming together for you, it's, you know, it can put you off doing it, I think, and I think that's really sad. And I see that quite often in my job. We quite often get work experience students who are, you know, coming to the wrong tool. Just to point it out, V on the keyboard will give you the line tool, Q gives you the curve tool. At least in Deluxe Paint it does, and Brilliance as well. Not sure about P Paint. I've started talking philosophically, but yeah, we see quite a lot of work experience students who come from secondary school or high school, come through the office, and you know, when you talk to these youngsters about what they want to do in their life, they give a response exactly the same as what I gave yesterday. I don't know. But seriously, I didn't know what I wanted to do at 16, and arguably I still don't. Quite enjoying this though. But you know, it's but you hear things like, oh, I want to be, you know, a really well-known YouTube star. You know, for doing what? Oh, gaming or whatever it might be, or artwork or stuff like that. And I think it's laudable. You know, I mean, if I had their confidence at their age, I would be laughing. I've probably gone crazy on Naz's hair, actually. She's pretty much got an afro. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm talking rather than concentrating on what I'm doing. But I think it's important, you know, not to pressurise yourself into that. I've got to be good at this in a certain amount of time. You know, you've got to love doing this. You've got to enjoy doing this. You know. Otherwise, you know, you'll just give up, and that would be really sad. So give yourself the time and space to enjoy it, and yeah, good things will come. That goes for drawing in general. This isn't just about pixel art, is it? This is about drawing. To be honest with you guys, this probably isn't the very best thing I've ever drawn in my life, but yeah. Oh, cool, Phil, you got some manga that you must draw. Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, Bill, you made it. Oh, glad you made it. I hope the funeral went okay. It's a bit sad to hear about that. It's never nice to hear something like that, but I hope it went well, and that, you know, whoever it was had the send-off that was befitting of them. Yeah, so I'm just blathering, really. The stream is well behind Bill, by the way. Just for anybody who's joined us, I think we're probably talking about, I'm in AD, the stream is in BC at the moment. I think if it got any further back, it's going to get arrested by a Roman centurion. So yeah, it's not, in terms of technical prowess, I don't think it's been the most successful stream, but I've quite enjoyed talking absolute rubbish to you guys, I'll be honest. But yeah, so the thing that I really want to get out of or get across in my YouTube channel to everybody is, you know, if you want to do this and you do enjoy it, don't be put off by people who are really good at it, or me. Oh dear, that hairline's terrible. Jeez, Vicky, come on. Yeah, don't be put off by people who are good at it, because we make mistakes, as I'm showing very ably here. It's just an iterative process. And I'll be honest with you, this, you know, chatting over this has been quite difficult. In terms of concentrating. There's a Monty Python joke in there somewhere. There sure is. Oh, I'm glad it went well, Bill. That's good. Artworks will never be perfect for their own creator, William. Never a true word spoken. I'm blighted by what it sounds like a bit of an introspective comment, but I probably do have a slight inferiority complex about stuff. I don't know why. I just do. It's not that I don't think I'm good enough. I get a lot out of what I do. You know, I actually really genuinely enjoy it. But I'll always compare myself to others. I think we all do. And when it's your own artwork, it's easy to pick fault in what you're doing. You know, I think anybody creative has that doubt. I mean, you've only got to look at Van Gogh, or was it Van Hoff, or however it's pronounced. You know, you've only got to look at him. I mean, he's the most famous example of somebody racked with self-doubt. Now, thankfully, I'm not blighted with a crippling self-doubt as much as him. But, you know, I find it even with my photography. You know, like, I'm very blessed that I get booked to photograph weddings, you know, all over the UK, over in Ireland, over in France, Italy. I might have one in Sweden this July, which will be cool. But you know, I find it even with that. You know, like, you know, and I'll be honest with you, it's one of the reasons I came off Instagram. It was wearing me down, seeing all this amazing work and sort of feeling a little bit like, oh, I just can't compete. And I'm not really somebody who's taken to social media, really. Never have done. That's why I don't do Facebook or anything like that. Or indeed Instagram these days. I'm just not very good at blowing my own trumpet. I just don't like it. I'd just rather be judged by the quality of what I produce and what I'm saying in an Instagram story or a Facebook Live. It's not because I don't have anything to say. It's just that, and whilst, you know, there's that saying that you should be the change that you want to see in the world, but I just found, honestly, so much of what Instagram stories was devoted to be very facile, and I just didn't want to join in with that, personally. I hope this doesn't sound too negative, but that's just who I am. So, you know, but it just going back to that, hang on, that original point of, you know, not you know, getting enjoyment out of something. You know, you got to enjoy this on your own terms, because if you're waiting for the validation of others, you'll never ever be good enough. You know, you've got to have at least a certain amount of your ego that sits back and goes, oh, you know, that's not too bad. You know, there has to be a little bit of the ego, you know, sustaining you in whatever you create in life, I think. Because otherwise you'll create nothing. You know, you'll be too scared to put your name to something, which would be very sad. We all have something to express, and we all express it in different ways. Some of us express it through our artwork. That's probably what I do. My work is probably my life. Some people will express themselves through looking after others. You know, like their raison d'etre in life is in, I don't know, helping others. Whether that be, you know, elderly, infirm, you know, those people less able than ourselves, or maybe there's some participants in the stream that, you know, do have somebody who helps them with various assistive requirements that they may have. So, you know, everybody gets something, you know, validation and something out of life in different ways. And for me, it's very much about my artwork. That's how I express myself. People who look after others will express themselves in that way. People express themselves through music. Some people express themselves through, I don't know, you know, their children. You know, their children are what they express themselves. So, yeah, you're right, William. You know, like 90% of the battles are getting started. You know, like I'm not a procrastinator per se, but I'm somebody who can stare at a wall, not really consciously thinking anything at all. You know, I don't, bizarrely, when it comes to weddings, people photograph a wedding, it'd be really stressful. But for me, I go into myself and I lock myself in this creative zone that I only surface from when the day is complete. And then I think, my God, that was hard work. But yeah, you sort of come up for air at the end of the gig, and I immediately just think my photos are going to be terrible. But then you look back on them, and after a couple of weeks or so, you think, you know, you've done a good job there. So yeah, it's getting started, and actually sometimes doing a creative job puts you on the spot, makes you create, and helps you think on your feet. But yeah, I can stare at a wall, seemingly thinking of nothing, and suddenly inspiration comes. So yeah, it's quite important. Yeah, I'm not really talking about deluxe paint very much, am I? Yeah, it takes time to get in front of people and share your skills, gift for others. It sure does. I mean, I'm going to go into it in a video that I've written the script for, which is all about my history of retro gaming, which I touched on at the very beginning of this stream. Yeah, one of the reasons I started this channel is because I feel like in life, one of the things that I really should have persevered with was a career in teaching. But I didn't. So, c'est la vie. And it's never too late. But I thought I should go into teaching when I was younger. That was the one job that I thought, oh yeah, I could do that. I could do teaching. And I didn't persevere with it, mostly because I loved the children. I used to work at a school as an assistant and also at an after-school club, which was great fun. I absolutely loved that job. But it was obviously part-time work. So, you know, you can't pay rent. Well, I was obviously renting at the time. You know, we're talking, where are we now, 2019? So we're talking at least 16 years ago now. Well, longer, actually. 19 years ago, we were going back to when I used to be a teaching assistant. I loved it. I absolutely loved that. But I didn't persevere with it because I saw how many of the teachers behaved at various schools that I worked at. And, you know, whilst the kids were badly behaved because they were kids, I just found that the teachers behaved appallingly, slagging each other off behind their backs and stuff. And I just didn't want to be part of that environment. I just, yeah. So I gave up too easily. So starting this YouTube channel is actually a way of me being able to do a bit of teaching, actually, in a way. I really hope it doesn't come across as an ego thing, because it's not ego. I just love being able to share what I'm passionate about. I always have done. And whilst I said earlier on that I feel that we live in an age where we perhaps overshare, I do think that this is one of the really positive things to come out of the internet. is this ability to share knowledge, and that goes back to Tim Berners-Lee's original ideas of the World Wide Web, the ability to harness the world's knowledge through an electronic medium. I think, you know, that is an incredible thing. So yeah, I feel that, you know, that was you know, something that why I started looking into doing the YouTube. I don't know what my initial aim for the channel was, really. I think it was obviously to concentrate on pixel art. You know, that's my niche. That's what I do. But I'm not just Amiga girl. I love all sorts of systems. I love the C64. I love the Spectrum. I love the Super Nintendo, the SNES. You know, that was my gaming system after I, you know, I stopped using the Amiga as my primary gaming machine in '94. Absolutely adored the SNES. And then it was onto the PlayStation. Also loved the Mega Drive or the Genesis as it is in the States. Or North America in general. So I'm not just Amiga. But a lot of my channel has been occupied by Amiga content. The reason I'm probably talking more than explaining what I'm doing here, guys, is because I'm well aware, like I say, that the stream is well behind here. And I feel that I need to fix the problems with the lag before I actually show you how to do things, because I'm aware that I'm doing stuff and not explaining why I'm doing them. And they're quite important to how to get nice pixel art out of Deluxe Paint or any sort of system. You know, like how I'm drawing curves, how I'm using the background layer, how I'm using the, well, eventually I would be using stencils, the keyboard shortcuts I'm using. I'm not really explaining those in real time because the stream is so lagged now that you'll be catching up with the end of this video tomorrow. So I think I'm going to stop drawing there, guys. I'm just going to let the video unfold. Oh wow, Doug says that his wife and me maybe learned how to fix their roof using a YouTube video. Amazing. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix the problems with the lag somehow. Whether that's, I don't know how I'm going to fix it. I will fix it somehow, as long as it doesn't involve buying a new computer, of course. I can't quite afford that at the moment because I've just bought a new sofa. Yeah. So hopefully we can get it fixed with the technology that we've got, or I've got, and then I'll be able to demonstrate more. I feel that it's actually been quite good just to talk about the stuff. You know, just generally, more philosophically, perhaps towards the end of this. I'm just gonna let the video catch up, and then I'll switch on to the webcam properly. Yeah, Deluxe Paint wasn't just made for experts, professionals. That is so true, William. So true. What I love about this package is its accessibility, but also its depth. I mean, crikey, you can come into this package having never used a computer for drawing before, and instantly you've got the colours, you've got the tools, off you go. It is a killer app, but it's also so good for professionals. I mean, you know, there are stories of the artists in Psygnosis, for example, after they had stopped producing software or games for the Amiga, using Amiga still to produce artwork for games, music. I'm trying to, Mike Clark, isn't it? He's done a few recent interviews where he talks about how he was using his Amiga 1200 in the PlayStation days to do artwork, music and stuff for PlayStation games, for PC games and stuff like that, which is incredible. So it shows the versatility of the Amiga. But yeah, Deluxe Paint is just the Amiga's killer app as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it had some amazing applications that came afterwards, like DigiPaint, amazing ham application for painting. You had things like Brilliance, you had applications, obviously hardware, software, combinations like the Video Toaster, which obviously was really the Amiga's life support in North America by the sounds of it. obviously the Amiga didn't sell as well in North America. Well, so the US, I think it did pretty well in Canada. But in Europe, yeah, you know, in the UK, every Amiga sold came with Deluxe Paint, except for I think pretty much the last bundle of the Amiga 1200. The was it the Combat? What was it? Combat Classics or very last one. It came with Personal Paint 4, and of course then the SCOM 1200 came with Personal Paint as well. But Deluxe Paint came with everything. So probably got so many people started with digital art. Yeah, I'd need to do some more testing, Doug. I did do quite a lot this morning, but all in vain. You know, it's just not worked out on the live stream, has it? So I'm wondering. Oh no, I can still see that the Elgato is catching up. Okay, I'm coming probably to the end of my wafflesome stream. Do you guys have any questions for me about what I've done today that you'd like to ask me, or anything in general? Probably preferably to do with probably Amiga and pixel art and Deluxe Paint, or just pixel art and Deluxe Paint in general, but far away otherwise. Yeah, it's very clear that the mission of Deluxe Paint was to introduce art to the people that have never tried it before. That is bang on. That really is so true. You know, obviously there was a bit of an outcry when Microsoft said it wasn't going to bundle Paintbrush with Windows anymore. Was it last year or the year before? That made me laugh. I mean, but actually, I remember at high school, secondary school, there was one Amiga in the music room which I used for MIDI sequencing. So this was about 94, 95. But the rest of the school was, they had 2 computer rooms. There was no computers in classrooms. There was 2 dedicated rooms. There was a resources room, as it was called, and that contained a selection of RM research machines, PCs. They were a mixture of 8086s and 286s, quite old. They had a paint application on it, which was okay. And then there was a later RM Nimbus, which is what they were called, in the library proper. And that ran, I think it ran Windows 3.1, but it was certainly a 386, and that had a slightly more up-to-date paintbrush application. Was it ZBrush or something like that? But that we used to tinker with that. That was the only real paint package that we had available to us. And then I think around about 95, the school acquired a new computer room. Didn't replace the 286s, but these were brand spanking new 286s with Windows 3.11 for work groups, and those had paintbrush in it as well. So that allowed us to tinker. But I don't actually ever remember using that computer room probably until about 97 or so. We didn't really use computers at school, really. If you wanted to use a computer, it had to be your own interest, and by that stage I was interested in computers, so I did spend time in the library playing with the 386 and stuff like that, but obviously came home to Amiga. What have we got? Paint Star on the Nimbuses. Maybe that was what it was called, Ian. I can't remember. Yeah, maybe Pixels. Yeah, this is definitely going to be available, Malroll. Yeah, it's I've hopefully checked the option to save this to the channel. God knows with this stream, it's been well lagged, as I say, but hopefully it will be. Who's my favourite pixel artist? That's a great question, Bill. Oh gosh, favourite pixel artist. I mentioned him earlier on. Henk, what's his name? Henk. Pixel artist. I'll just drop my pad. Even my MacBook is literally taking 5 seconds to register what I type in. So that's how overstressed this is. Henk Nieborg. Is it Nieborg? 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 Never quite sure sometimes how to pronounce sort of more Scandi or Germanic surnames. But yeah, Henk Nieborg. He did games like Lionheart on the Amiga, but then quickly progressed to things like Flink, which came out on the Mega Drive. Mega CD or Genesis stroke Sega CD, and also came out in CD32, and then went on to The Adventures of Lomax, and I think he's done some other things as well, but he's a great pixel artist. Beautiful, beautiful art. I'm just trying to think of the guy who did, all the guys who did. I mentioned earlier in the stream that I do really love the original Rayman. It's typical Euro platformer fare. It's tough as nails, but it's beautiful. Seriously, I can't think of a more beautiful 2D platformer, or probably loads actually. But yeah, great artist. I'm trying to think who else I like. I really like the early stuff, which was it Audrey Harrison? Let's just look. Let's have a look. I've probably got a name on. I'm sure it's Harrison. Sorry, my MacBook is literally just ground to a halt. Audrey Harrison. But yeah, it's just I'm not able to search anything. I'm probably buggering up the stream, trying to do too much at once. Yeah, I think I might have crashed the stream. Okay. Yeah, so those are some of my favourite pixel artists. There's probably loads more. What I'll probably do is I'm going to, like I say, fix the issues for the next stream, and you know, and we'll be able to go through this much better than we did this time. But also, I'll perhaps prepare some more art examples of pixel art that I love and the people that created it. I'm pretty certain that the stream is almost caught up. You know, I stopped drawing about 15 minutes ago, and that's how far behind it is. That is crazy. Oh man, Henk Niebel. Yeah. Which game? So the one that I really loved the pixel art for, but I would look up who did it, but it's Rayman. Let me get it. Okay. Went to get one thing, came back with 10. So there's a few things here. When I switched from the Amiga to the SNES as my primary gaming platform in '94, one of the things that opened up was things like Zelda: A Link to the Past, which was my first sort of foray into. People argue whether it's a JRPG or not, but to my mind, that was the first JRPG-like game that I played, and I just adored it. I can't recall anything that was similar to that on the Amiga. A couple of years later, something called Spurious Legacy came out, but I'll be honest with you, it was pants. Whereas A Link to the Past just incredible game. And then was it late '94, Secret of Mana came out for the SNES as well in the PAL region, and I picked that up in '95, I think, and that's more of an action RPG, JRPG, rather than sort of stuff like Final Fantasy and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm having to think. But its sequel of sorts was well, actually, it's not historic because there was Seiken Densetsu, which is something like Sacred Sword or something like that. But after Seiken Densetsu 3, which was Japan only, Legend of Mana came out, and this is beautiful. This is a stunning game. I'm not sure if this comes through on the. Actually, what I'm going to do is I think. Oh yeah, there's some actually really good points that people are pulling up here. I'm going to just switch this back to webcam only now, because I hope this will catch up the stream. Okay, I'm just also going to shut down the Elgato because I think it might actually destroy my... Okay, there's some really cool stuff in the chat. So Legend of Mana is it's absolutely stunning. It really is. Yeah, I just love this game. It's not the easiest of games to get into. It's not as accessible as Secret of Mana, but that's what brought me into it. And the Eagle-Eyed Monks, you'll see that it's a North American copy because, like so many things, we didn't get it in the PAL region because Enix and Squaresoft didn't think, well, after the Secret of Mana didn't sell very well in the PAL region, they didn't release any more JRPGs, so we had to, well, I had to import stuff. So yeah, yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, so Legend of Mana, great game, fantastic pixel art. Don't know who did it. A little bit of a throwaway one. This one, Parodius. This one's, oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it basically contains two Parodius games. I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head. Love this. I love a good shmup. Beautiful 2D pixel art. Konami when they were at their best. And as you can see, it's the Japan NTSC copy of it, mostly because this was not released in the North American NTSC UC region, but it was released in the PAL region. It's bloody expensive if you buy it in the PAL region. So I just play the Japan version. It's got cooler artwork. It's much better, isn't it? So, and I love on the fact that if you look on the title, SLPS 002. So it's after Ridge Racer. It's the second release game. In fact, it's got copyright date. It's 1994. So that's cool. Next. Oh yeah, look. It looks like on YouTube I'm holding up Legend of Mana there, so we are catching up. So, have I tried Octopath Traveler? Asked Doug. I was meant to buy a Switch about a month ago, but then I bought a new sofa, as I mentioned, so it's due any day. So, but I do want to. It looks stunning. Can't wait. Was there a proper introduction? Yeah, there was one of sorts. I started rambling on about the various Amigas. I'll flash them up again in a minute as I wrap up this stream. But yeah, I think what I need to do for the next stream is actually sit down and think of a bit of a script of sorts, or some key points to go through, as you say, William, to sort of introduce the principles, because I think perhaps what I've been relying a bit too much on is the fact of thinking that you guys will have perhaps seen some of the videos I've already done, and I'm obviously aware of the various scripts that I've written for the videos that I've got coming out, and so I've probably glossed over so much, and of course then combined with the stream lagging so badly from the Amiga, this did make it a bit of a mess, but I will plan a much better stream next time. Amiga Bill, how do you do your streams, man? You're on fire when you do them. Oh God, you clever guy getting that all synchronized and do what you do. I couldn't do it. Well, I'm trying. Anyway, another game, Luna. Silver Star Story complete. This is epic, absolutely epic. This originally came out on Sega CD / Mega CD. Did it come out in the UK? Not sure, but this is a brilliant JRPG, one of the very best, and it's absolutely fantastic on the PlayStation. Beautiful manga style. It's just exceptionally good. Again, didn't come out in the PAL region. US import. Working Designs did an amazing job on this. Highly recommend it. Pretty expensive. You're probably looking at spending about $80, I think, on Silver Star Story if you get all of the bits and pieces it came with. But it is just a brilliant storyline, brilliant pixel art, real classic. And then obviously the follow-up, Luna 2, Eternal Blue. Again, didn't come out in PAL region. NTSC UC import, superb. Is it as good as Silver Star Story? Yeah, go, yeah, go. Some people say it isn't. I think it is. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And also, I didn't mention this one earlier on when I mentioned Grandeur, but Star Ocean, the second story. The first Star Ocean game came out only in Japan, I believe, for the Super Famicom or the Super Nintendo, as we call it in the West. Um, uh, in about 95, 96 or so. Fantastic game on the Super Nintendo. You can get a translated file, should you wish. I mean, obviously, I've never played it, but I just know that it's brilliant. Somehow. Hi, Nintendo. Yeah, so Star Ocean, bit like Final Fantasy VII, insofar as it has pre-rendered backgrounds, 3D, looks great, which means it holds up really well. But sprite characters, which look great, very much like the Grandeur kind of style of pixel art characters over 3D backgrounds. Highly recommend it. Great fun. Did come out in the PAL region. Rare things. Quite expensive, about 50 quid that. But it's a great game, and one that I probably played about twice now. I don't know if I'm due another playthrough. Yeah, I'm working my way through Final Fantasy 4 at the moment on the Game Boy Advance. So what else we got? Notice the amount of alcohol consumed in Bill's streams. Well, not for me to say. I'm kombucha. Yeah, he's. I could say I've had a Birra Moretti tonight. So nice Italian beer. Yeah, all good. So I'm just going to wrap up the stream now, guys. So I started off with showing sort of my background with the Amigas and stuff. So I'm just going to save my work on here. And I'm going to call this Azusa UE1B because that's where I got to. That's just going to save it. And I'm just going to recap where I started. I believe, guys, that this... let's make sure let's quit out that. Oh no, quit. Yep. I'm going to make sure that this stream is on the channel, hopefully, so you can watch it again. But yeah, I have been trying to show you today with the power of the Amiga, which is not usually that slow. It's just stream lagged the way that I've had to do this today, as I've said repeatedly. But this stream was brought to you today by my Amiga 600. So I've obviously just unplugged it all. Yeah, so this machine I've had since 1993 and love it to bits. It's my favourite machine to do pixel art on. It's not the quickest, it's not the fastest, it's not the best, it's not the brightest or whatever. Great machine, love it. Had it since 1993, it's not going anywhere. My first computer, as I mentioned, was the Commodore 64. Oh, that's the right way up, C64C. Didn't really do much artwork on it. Came with Image Maker on a cartridge, which is in the back there, which is pretty rubbish with a joystick. I could borrow Anthony for comic relief. Yeah, no. See, this is where I'm going wrong. I'm obviously being a bit more not serious, but you know, whatever. But you know, I've not consumed a number of beers, have I? So, and of course, obviously, I've got my Amiga 1200 as well. Look at this baby, absolutely mint. This isn't the one that I had back in the day. This one I picked up last year as the Amiga 1200 that I bought in 1996. Died a death in 2000 after it was hacked into a tower. Had a ISA bus board on it with an RTG card, a power PC, and all sorts of other crazy stuff going on, which just basically eventually killed it dead. So it's nice to have a good minty Amiga 1200. Not a single bit of yellowing anywhere on it. Still got a floppy drive. I don't know how many Gotex myself. 68020 ACA 1221 EC accelerator in there. Great machine. Love it. And finally, because everybody should have one. Everybody should have an Amiga 500 in their lives. Not my first Amiga. Probably the first Amiga I ever played on at a friend's house. With a 1084. it's I did pick up a 500 plus in about, when did I pick up a 500 plus? 1995. And sadly battery got to that one, but yeah, yeah. Everybody should have an Amiga 500 in their lives. Obviously, this one works. It's completely classic. Kickstart 1.3, Rev 6A, so it's got an ECS Agnes, but by the by. And 512K upgrade. That's it. Still like to crack out the Amiga 500 with Deluxe Paint 3 every now and then. It's a great machine to have as part of my little retro gaming stroke computing collection. Not really a collector per se, but despite all appearances. And yeah, yeah, it's just nice to crack up the tank mouse and do a bit of deep paint in this baby. Yeah, that's what I started off with for you anyway. So blue and orange for the workbench. What were they thinking? Yeah, Phil, it was pretty mad, wasn't it? I think I heard something about that they did that because I'm just going to move the camera. Okay. I'm just going to turn around a bit here. Let's do this right. Yeah. You're probably getting a really good view of the poor laptop that has been strained within an inch of its life this evening to bring this to you. It's not been without its flaws this stream, has it? So yeah, I'm hoping that it's a little bit lighter here. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Right, well, I think I'm just going to review the questions. High contrast easy to see on TV. I don't even know if I answered the question. I probably got distracted as I was talking. Yeah, my Amiga 1200, the original one, went out in style. Oh, thanks, Robert. Sorry I missed your leaving message. I'm not very good at keeping an eye on the stream at the same time. Only Elgato makes it possible. Yeah, pixels. Yes. I thought it's been a great introduction, Rob. Oh, thank you, Rob. That's very kind. Oh. Oh, William says it was a proper introduction. Yeah, but I still think I can do better. I'm just going to show guys who joined later on in the stream some of the box software that I have. Oh, so yeah, brilliant. Great bit of software. Quite rare to pick up these days, but I've got it. Deluxe Paint 5, do use it. It's got some really good extra animation tools which are worth it. My beloved Deep Paint 4 manual. Obviously Deluxe Paint 3, the very package that I started everything with. The original Deluxe Paint, which came with a pamphlet for a manual. And behold, the tank mouse. Now, this, I think this must have come from the Amiga. I don't know actually. I say it came from the Amiga 500 Plus that I bought in '95. It didn't come with a 600. That came with a slightly more curvy mouse that the later Amigas came with. But this emerged from somewhere. It did have a sticker on the back of it which said A3000 on it. I know I used this with the A3000 when I had that 20 odd years ago. But yeah, this is pretty much the mouse that in the 90s I'd have done most of my work on. So yeah, so if you've just got one of these, doesn't matter, you can crack on. Yeah. So, yeah, originals, what sorcery is this? I know, I'm crazy, look at this. This guy's, photogenics, yes. Oh, I've got original software coming out my ears. Well, not really, but yeah, no, I recently, I used to use photogenics quite a lot back in the day. It's quite a good substitute of sorts to Photoshop, although Photoshop version 3, not CS3, but version 3 was better. It had layers and ran on faster hardware than I generally had. But yeah, Photogenics, great package. I've also got Photogenics version 2 there. Need to get this installed on the 1200 actually, but as you can see, it only comes on CDs, so I need to get an image of that and then put it on the compact flash, and I've just not got around to it yet. So yeah, A1000 vintage for the Tackness L bracket. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is from the 500/2000 era bill. As you rightly say, it's got the straight connector. It's not got the L-shaped connector that the 1000 tank mice had. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. I mean, listen to the click. Oh, isn't that classic? What lovely sounds they make. I do have a bit of a fondness for the tank press. Just seeing if there's anything else. My CD32 styles. Oh yeah, that looks well good. I must admit, as tempting as it is, but it probably doesn't really show in the tungsten light that I'm. Well, it's not tungsten these days. All these LED bulbs, isn't it, or whatever they're called, but halogen or something. But obviously, this 1200 is so mint. I couldn't possibly put it in anything else. It deserves to live in that case. It was very well looked after by the owner that I purchased it from. It wasn't the cheapest 1200 going, but by gosh, it came with some great games, a spare floppy drive and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, cool. Micro switch porn, yeah, you know it, Phil. Okay, guys, I think that's all I've got to say this evening, to be honest with you. I need to get my dinner in. It's 10:20 here. I'm just so happy that you guys bared with it. I hope you got something from it. Obviously, you... Oh, Rob had brilliance. Yeah. Oh, great package. It is a gorgeous 1200, Doug. It really is. It's pretty special. It's... I won't be butchering that one. I won't be putting USB or anything like that in it. I mean, I'm not what you'd call a technology enthusiast. You know, I use a 4-year-old iPhone. This MacBook that's been straining to do this stream this evening is 7 years old. My A1200, my Mac Mini is 7 years old. So I'm not a technology enthusiast. But I do appreciate the older stuff because that's what I started with, and I just want to keep it that way. Really, that's what I enjoy. You know, I had my days in the 90s of having 040 and 030 and PPC based Amigas, and they were great. You know, using PageStream on an A4000 with an 060 and Picasso 4 was brilliant for the time, but and it still is, but for the prices they go for, it would be wasted on me, really. So yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed it, guys. Going to wrap it up there, and yeah, I've got a lot of techie stuff to fix, haven't I, over the next week or so, I think. I'm not really sure how I end streams, really, because I'm just worried if I push this red button now, will it stop? Will it stop? Yeah, Rob, I do the same. Mine's a 2012 Mac Mini. It's i7. It's got an SSD. Got 16 gigabyte. 16 gigabytes, isn't it? RAM. So it works great. And actually, I think hopefully using my Mac Mini will solve some of the issues with this stream. I think the plan that's formed in my head is to connect, use FSUAE on the MacBook Air, stream the video out of that into the Elgato on the Mac Mini, because that is more powerful. Oh, glad you guys enjoyed it. So I'm just going to figure out how to switch this off. I hope... Oh, thanks, Alex. That's very kind. Oh, gosh. I really hope it's been good, guys. I know you guys say that you've enjoyed it. And I've had a blast. I really have. I was really nervous to start with. I had some technical issues getting started. You know, like the Elgato software just wouldn't work. And yeah, so thanks for bearing with me. And I look forward to sharing with you another stream soon. So... take care, guys. Have a great evening. Have a great week, wherever you are in the world. A bientôt. Au revoir. Bye-bye. Oops, and there goes the mouse.